Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios. This is episode number 36. Right here beside me is
Trylko. Hello, everyone. Mr. Phegley, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm really tired. I worked all weekend. So
working for a living.
Yeah, working for a living.
Podcasting on the side.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm exhausted.
But nonetheless, you persevere.
I'm here.
Put out episode number 36.
I am here. We got all kinds of stuff that we're going to talk about here today. We're going to have Crunching the Numbers with John Swift.
Looking at the running backs, halfbacks, fullbacks, so very important.
We're going to talk to Tyler Hudanick, offensive lineman. Tyler Hudanick, offensive lineman from Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area. And we're going to talk about all the news. In fact, that's been my new, if you haven't seen that has been one of my new hashtag things on Twitter. Hashtag all the news.
All the news. Which includes big weekends for top 25 ranked UCF baseball and UCF softball.
Yeah. So it's good. There's all kinds of stuff. Those teams that aren't nearly as paid attention to as football and basketball are really having great seasons. And
that is the case.
Yeah.
Of course, big story is spring practice continuing out at UCF. For Saturday, the Knights practiced with a scrimmage with officials, which is a little bit of a different change of pace about halfway through spring practice.
Yeah, it's time to do that, though. It's time to. They have to work on the new rules and stuff like that. So there's always new rules every year, and having those guys out there, they go over what the new rules are with them before the practice starts, and then that's a good way to really make sure you're working on that, because when those officials are there for that first scrimmage, they're looking at all that stuff that they just told the players about. So,
and of course, with spring practice, they're working on teaching the new players, returning players, some of the offensive and defensive schemes. And of course, one goal is that you certainly want to come out of it injury-free. I thought the quote that Coach George O'Leary gave on Saturday to Shannon Owens-Green of the Orlando Sentinel was interesting. Quote, "I'm going to make some depth chart changes, and after I grade the scrimmage, and it'll reflect guys that are playing well and guys that aren't playing well," O'Leary said. "That's what competition is." So look for some changes in this third week of spring practice.
Yeah, I don't think they've actually
the spring game on April 18th.
I don't think they've actually released any kind of depth chart. So I guess he's talking about his personal depth chart, because I haven't seen a depth chart. So
I think there's the depth chart we think in our minds. So it'll be interesting to see if he releases something to the public.
I wonder what he's talking about there. I mean, is it something big that's going to surprise all of us or not? Probably not. I mean, unless he's going to start Nick Patty over Justin Holman.
That would be news.
Yeah.
We may need to do an overtime.
That would be crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case. But, yeah, it looks like UCF got their rings. If you saw on Facebook or Twitter or social media all over the place, they were showing off their rings that say their name, and then it says two-time AAC champions.
Nice piece of hardware that you get from, as you mentioned, winning the AAC. Back-to-back seasons. That's a big accomplishment for UCF. They'll be going for that third consecutive title this year. So be nice to add more hardware, more rings to the,
There's another bit of news that came out in football this week. Really the only news, and that was that they're moving the first game against FIU from Saturday to Thursday night, adding another Thursday night game.
3 games that are not on Saturday, the 2 Thursday night games and a Friday night game.
Right. I think that's great.
Why do you think it's great?
I think that we should play all of those Thursday night games on ESPN that we possibly can.
Well, now that has not been announced that they're on ESPN. There is the hope that it will be a primetime showcase on one of the ESPN networks, but you could get ESPN3 available on the internet, and I don't know how many people are going to be tuning in for that.
Well, there's still, at least there's still highlights that can come out of that. If it's on the ESPN3, at least there could be some highlights on, Sports Center that wouldn't have been otherwise, because if they don't have their cameras there, they can't get highlights for Sports Center. You know what I'm saying?
I guess. I mean, you read the message board comments, and no doubt listeners of the Knightline podcast have all sorts of opinions, and UCF fans will be all full of excuses no matter what time of the game time, day. Thursday night it'll be, I had to work, I couldn't tailgate all day, the kids have school in the morning. There'll always be something. I will be there no matter what time of the day, no matter what day of the week. 3 of the 6 home games, not on the traditional Saturday. Of course, we don't have times for the other 3 that are on Saturday. Be interesting to see if any of those are noon starts.
Yeah, like I said, I really think that we should play all of those Thursday and Friday games that we can, just because unless these games, honestly, and people are going to hate that I say this, unless they're at noon on Saturday or on prime time on Saturday and on TV, I'd rather play the Thursday and Friday night games that are at least in that slot that are available for TV.
I just think that this game, the opener last year was moved. I don't know what the decision-making went into the sort of a late announcement here, end of March, after schedule was announced, after season ticket renewals had gone out, why the change from Saturday to Thursday. UCF will draw 35, 40,000 people for that game. FIU will travel no one for that game. So it doesn't seem to me, though, that when you compare it to the BYU game from a year ago, that there'd be the same electricity for it, but they'd moved the Akron game, the home opener last year, to Thursday, and drew a decent crowd.
FIU should have some people up there.
Nah.
I mean, really?
No. I don't.
Just even
There'll
since
be some, a couple.
They're just in Miami.
Yeah, they don't travel that well.
Really?
No.
Okay.
When they've been to UCF before, they didn't bring that many people.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to bring 20,000 people, but nobody does, really. Except,
South Carolina, Texas, those sorts of opponents draw a big crowd, but FIU won't.
Okay, well, at least they'll have some people with them. So.
Still, 3 out of the 6 games are going to be either that Thursday night or that Friday night of the home schedule. The other 3 on Saturday at times to be announced.
We need as much national exposure as we can possibly get, period.
I agree with that. I just don't know how much national exposure you're going to get from FIU if it's on ESPN3.
If it's on ESPN3, it's still available nationwide.
The same could be said if it was on the CBS Sports Network, though, as well.
That's true.
I don't, how many people are tuning into that.
I don't know. I don't know. I maybe we can get some numbers on that. I'm not sure if they give out that data.
You get some ratings data. I don't know how much
for ESPN3.
Nah, I've not seen those sorts of ratings.
I bet it's out there. I bet it's possible to get. So maybe if it's on something like that, or one of the games that is going to be on, because one of the games will be on that at least this year.
I guess
even if they're on Saturday afternoons or whatever, they're on ESPN3 sometimes. So
what's a struggle for fans, though, is that you want to take in the full game day experience and, be out there tailgating all day long. And you know how it is with UCF, with campus and classes in session, when they open up the lots and when they do those sorts of things, it does cut back into your full game day experience when you have one of those weeknight games.
That's true. It's early enough where you can take the day off. You can take some PTO if you've got it.
But I'm just saying that UCF doesn't even open up all of the facilities and the lots.
They kick all the students out by a certain time. Like I think it's, probably 3 o'clock for that game. All the students will be kicked off of campus. So.
Just that it's not going to be a full day of tailgating like people
That's
true.
To
enjoy when That's it's a 6 or a 7 o'clock Saturday night game.
You can't get your drink on as much. You got to drink faster.
I can count on that UCF fans will do that.
Anyway.
But it is what it is, UCF fans. It's March, going to be April. In a couple of days this week, and you've got all that time to plan out, cutting off early on that Thursday, taking Friday off, whatever it takes to be there and enjoy as much of the opening game as you can.
Yep, and we will all be there. All right, so, speaking of that Thursday night game, who are we going to see at running back, do you think?
I'd like to see a healthy and productive William Stanback. That would be one.
I would like to see Taj McGowan, but anyway.
There's some buzz around him.
There is.
Incoming freshman.
Yeah, and we talked to John Swift about that. I think this is the perfect time for Crunching the Numbers. Welcome to Crunching the Numbers, featuring John Swift. All right, joining us on the phone right now is John Swift. John, what do you think about running backs and H-backs this year?
Well, it's going to be critical for us losing a lot of receivers. The running game is going to be important for us to get going, and I think what we saw last year, averaging 3.2 yards per carry, it's not going to win a lot of games for us. So it's definitely an area of concern. Coach Key is now the running backs coach, and he's really focused on toughness from our running backs. And last year, a lot of guys suffered injuries, got banged up, so we kind of had a revolving door there at the starting running back position. And it's a position we're going to need more consistency out of. Where was the chunk yardage played last year? There weren't many big runs, and Benson's really Storm Johnson since we've seen a guy who can kind of get to the second level and stretch the play. So I think it's going to be a big focus for us this season. Jokingly, our best running back left, call Rodell Hall our best running back from last season because he looked great in the USF game, but it's definitely an area of concern and something that needs to be worked on in the spring.
Yeah, I think that there's some guys that could step up. Personally, I think that, okay, we'll just start off the top here with Taj McGowan. As far as I'm concerned, I saw him just one day out there. It's all I've really gotten to see him, but he runs different than everybody else runs, personally. He has a very fluid, very smooth cuts. He's kind of a slinky guy, I think. So I don't know if O'Leary's going to give him the chance this year to play as a freshman, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I would like to see that personally.
Yeah, I think, in the past, O'Leary's always been able to get freshman running backs in there, and I think it's a position that if Taj can step up, he'll see the field. Obviously enrolled early in January to be developing this spring. Three-star recruit out of Hollandale, Florida. What I noticed when I put on his tape was just his speed. He has that big play potential, kind of can hit the home run there. And then his acceleration is very fluid and very good. I also think he has pretty good feet, cuts well, and has pretty solid vision. It'll be interesting to see how, the speed of the college game affects that, but he definitely has that second gear that I think our returning running backs don't have.
We also saw Micah Reed last year show definitely some good stuff in a couple of games where he, had something that some of the other guys didn't as far as a little bit of slinkiness and being able to make cuts and stuff like that too. What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's a big body guy, 6 foot 214. He'll be coming in as a junior. Totaled 223 yards last year, and then 46 yards receiving. And his biggest game was against SMU. He ran for 112 yards on 26 attempts, and had 39 yards receiving that game as well. So that's kind of a breakout game for him. SMU was kind of a very poor team last year. It'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that kind of performance, against some of the stronger opponents we're going to face this year.
Interesting. We were 3.5 minutes into our conversation with you, John, and we haven't really mentioned William Stanback, who, of course, is the prime face returning running back. Let's talk about him a little bit. Underperformed what Knights fans expected going into the 2014 season.
Yeah, I think, Leary's been really hard on Stanback. I think he understands his potential, and, it seems to me that Stanback is just not understanding what it takes to, be effective at this level. I mean, he did accomplish some things. He's all AAC team the last 2 years, started 7 games last year, played in 10, got 697 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. So by far our most productive back. He also had 65 yards receiving. The inconsistency is kind of the big thing with him. He had 3 100-yard games, but then he had 5 games with under 50 yards. Then if you look at kind of against some more quality opponents, he had 33 yards at Missouri, 44 against Houston, 44 against BYU, and then 38 against NC State in the bowl game. So there's definitely a fall-off when he faced better competition. And then when you look at what he did his freshman year at 4.2 yards per carry, that number dropped to 3.7 in 2014. And so, I think he lost some of that ability when he became kind of that prime role. At East Carolina, he broke the 41-yard long run, which is the longest of the season. And prior to that, as long as 21 yards against a 1A team, which was against a pretty poor UConn team. So he just really didn't have any big runs that I think really hurt him last year as far as his productivity. But a guy that's going to have to, do some soul searching and find it within if he wants to, have that number one spot, because he's definitely getting pushed by Travis Wilson and then Taj McGowan, Micah Reed, and there's a lot of people competing for that time.
What would you say to this, that the stand-back defenders would point out 2 things, that he'd had some toe injury, and also we've had a revolving door on the offensive line over the course of last season with all sorts of different faces. Are those 2 factors that may be holding him back, and a little bit more health and a little bit stronger line play, we may be seeing a stronger stand-back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the offensive line was very inconsistent. And I think if you look across the backs, Stanback is still probably the best running back from an athletic standpoint. He certainly has the speed once he gets going. It's just going to be kind of finding his patience and making the cut that he needs to make and getting through the hole. Hopefully there'll be bigger holes for him to run through. But I think last year, he was just getting caught up in the backfield. Obviously had a toe injury and, just really never got going. None of the running game really ever got going last year. Definitely hope that there's going to be a little more emphasis on getting some chunk yardage through the running game to really help out our offensive attack.
Yeah, back to the toe thing. I'm really not so sure that he's recovered from that yet, and I'm not so sure that he's going to be able to recover from that. There's a lot of people that haven't recovered from that, and it's killed a lot of people's careers in the NFL even. I really hope. I like the guy. We've seen what he can do. I hope that he can come back from that, but I'm not sure yet. And I don't think we'll be sure until we, see him out there a lot more than we saw him last year. What about Dontravius Wilson? We mentioned him a little bit there. What did you see from him last year?
Yeah, he's a big guy, physical, 5'10", 212. Started 4 games, played in 10, 347 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. He also had 56 yards receiving. I think he's a guy that, to me, is kind of like a stand-back B. I think he cuts well, and he got better as the season went on. So I think what we'll see out of Wilson is a little more momentum this offseason as he's working on his fundamentals. He doesn't have that breakaway speed that Stanback has, but he does, cut very well. And I think of all the backs, he probably has some of the best elusiveness when he makes one cut from what I've seen last year.
What about the new guys coming in? There's a couple of other guys besides Taj McGowan.
Yeah, C.J. Jones is another guy who's redshirted last year, 3-star recruit out of Daytona Beach. I went back and looked at some of his tape, and he played a lot in the triple option, but he has good vision and he cuts well. He's a guy that, it'll be interesting to see if he can get out there and compete, and then obviously Taj McGowan. It's kind of been praised by O'Leary early on and Coach Key early on, and, Brandon Helwig, UCFsports.com has praised him as well, out of practices. So it'll be interesting to see, if those guys can get a shot at playing.
The running backs, of course, make the most headlines, but in an O'Leary offense, UCF offense, the H-backs, the fullbacks, also very important. Talk a little bit about what we expect returning on that side of the ball.
Joseph Puapola, he's like the human wrecking ball, 5'10", 242 pounds. He's one of the strongest lifters on the team. He played in 12 games last year, 11 the year prior. He's probably kind of the favorite at that position. Then we have Cedric Thompson, who has really been a workhorse and a journeyman at UCF. He's 6', 225. Played running back. Kept putting weight on as the years went on, so they've moved him over to H-back. Played in 37 games in his career at UCF. I think a guy that'll be in there and be contributing. A guy that we heard a lot about early on but haven't seen is Mario Mathis, redshirt sophomore, 6'1", 232. He was a 3-star recruit, played outside linebacker in high school. Mississippi State offered him a scholarship. He's pretty highly recruited from Thompsonville, Georgia. Number 63 player in his class. He's a guy that is a good athlete. It'll be interesting to see if he can contribute. The incoming freshman, Aaron Cochran, who's by far the biggest of the group, is 6'3", 250, and they don't quite know if they're going to use him as more of a tight end. He can certainly catch the ball, but H-back might be a great position for him to kind of use some of that versatility. He chose UCF over Louisville. He's from the Atlanta area. He's ranked the number 75th player in his state, and 250 pounds, big. He's physical. I went back and watched some tape on him, and he's a heck of a defensive lineman as well. So I think he's got that attitude that is going to go very far in the UCF program as far as hard work and being physical.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him. He was one of my favorite guys that kind of came through the recruit line this year. I've actually been trying to get a hold of him to talk to him, so we shall see if I can get a hold of him, and we may hear from him in the next couple weeks. Well, thank you very much, John Swift. Do you have anything to add there, or I know you need to get going?
No, I think that's good. Thanks, and charge on.
So, you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We don't need to know about your fun-filled weekend in the City of Sin, but we hope you'll click the ad on our website. It's right there to the left, the one that screams you have to save up to 50% off your next trip to Vegas. Just click on the ad and we promise never to talk about what happened in Vegas.
Former UCF Knight Shia Burley, offensive coordinator for the Orlando Predators, and you're listening to UCF Knightline Podcast.
Alrighty, thank you, Shia Burley. And we're watching right now while we're doing this. It's tied up. The Philadelphia, whatever they are, and the Orlando Predators are playing right now, and it is 42-42 with 106 left in the third.
Defensive battle at the Amway.
Yeah. Big time. Perryman made a lot of news this week. Perryman has been talked about on, I have a Google alert, like I've said before, on him, and wow.
Yeah, look at some of the headlines. Of course, folks know that he ran the 4.22 40-yard dash. Redskins.com, Perryman runs blazing 40. USA Today ran an insane 40. And the list goes on and on. Reportedly, all 32 NFL teams at Pro Day at UCF earlier in the week. It's as if, though, every one of those team sites had an article and a profile on Perryman in the days that followed. And it's here, should the Dallas Cowboys draft wide receiver Brashad Perryman? And they go on and on and on.
No, because he's not going to be available because the Kansas City Chiefs are going to take him.
Well, that's another one that was rumored, too.
No, I know. They're going to take him.
Is it safe to say that
They'd be
this
stupid
performance has certainly moved him into first-round consideration?
Yeah, I think, like we said, or like I said last week, is that Perryman really needed to come out there and do something crazy, or needed to really show up, and he did, big time.
Yeah, he made. he made a statement, and if you haven't had an opportunity to click on UCFathletics.com and watch that very short clip, what was best about it were the scouts that looked at their stopwatches and then looked at each other, were like, did I just see that?
Yeah.
Is this right? Did mine?
Yeah.
Did mine?
I think they were more like, oh my God, did you that he actually just did that? It was the Detroit guy that was the one that just was just oh my it was awesome. Yeah, and honestly, I didn't expect that. I didn't know that he had that in him, to be honest with you. I know that he's fast. The thing is with him, he doesn't look that fast when he's on the field because he's tall and lanky and he's a fluid runner. So he just doesn't look like he's blazing fast like that. But that would be the highest. If he would have ran in the combine, that would have been the highest or the fastest 40 out of everyone in the combine.
And I'd read that there was prize money up for grabs at the combine for fastest, so he missed out on that.
Yeah,
I think his bonus that he signs when he's drafted coming up at the end of April in the NFL draft is going to more than make up for that. One of the good profiles was done by a local New Orleans Saints reporter covering the team, comparing him, of course, favorably to his father and the NFL pedigree of Brett Perryman.
Then again, fast doesn't make an NFL player. That's not what it's all about. He's going to have to make those catches that he sometimes did not make for UCF. Imagine if he would have caught all the balls that he didn't catch.
What his statistics would have looked like then.
Right, because there were a lot of drops. And that's the one thing that everybody, says negative about him is he's a good route runner, he's fast, drops the ball. So, he needs to work on that. Obviously, he's worked on his speed. Obviously, he's worked on running that 40. I'm sure he's worked night and day at speeding that up because I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. And I think everybody else was too. I don't think anybody expected him to come out there and run that number.
And of course, he made the most headlines, but it was several other players pro day as well out at UCF with all of those scouts, all 32 teams reportedly in attendance. But it was Perryman who made the national headlines, and you hope good performances for the rest of the former Knights.
Speaking of somebody that made really good headlines last year and was really the story of the draft last year.
And wouldn't Blake Bortles love to have Brashad Perryman to throw to in Jacksonville?
I think you'd rather have J.J. Warden, but anyway.
NFL's annual meetings in Phoenix during the week. Headline, Bortles, everything Bradley expected. That being, of course, head coach of the Jags, Gus Bradley, quoted as saying, he's everything we hope for as far as mentality and competitiveness. He has no fear. I felt like that going through the process where we were picking the quarterback and he plays with no fear, those aspects were really exciting for us. So, not the best statistical year for Blake. Certainly he'll be a little more scrutinized going into this next NFL season, but you still see a lot of upside potential for Blake.
Yeah, I think Blake's going to be a great quarterback. I hope that he will be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I hope that he'll be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I hope that he will be a Hall of Famer one of these days. That would be awesome. They've got to get some stuff around him.
A lot of stuff around him. Some offensive linemen around him, wide receivers.
Yeah, then they're working on that. They've had a good offseason. But speaking of offensive linemen, how about we hear from one of UCF's new offensive linemen for 2015, Tyler Hudanick. All right, joining us on the phone right now is Tyler Hudanick. And he is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he is a offensive lineman, actually Harmony, Pennsylvania, I'm sorry. And he is a offensive lineman, 6'5", 290 pounds, signed with UCF for the class of 2015. Thank you very much for joining us. I just wanted to have a chance to let you have a chance to talk to Knight Nation a little bit. Everybody's listening. First of all, being way up there in Pittsburgh, where had you heard of UCF before, or was this, did they blindside you by coming, to recruit you, or what? Tell us a little bit about the recruiting process.
Really, I've heard of UCF and how they've been doing well lately in the past couple of years. And then when Blake Bortles came out, almost every football fan knew what UCF was, and I knew UCF before that. And then when I got my offer from UCF, going into right after my junior year, I knew right then and there, I was like, wow, this is a great school. It's definitely going to be one of my options at the end of my recruiting trail. So I knew from there, I was like, wow, I really need to check this place out and sit down and get to know these coaches a little bit more, because I can definitely see myself going down there to that nice weather and a nice area. And overall, it's one of probably the biggest tourist whatever place in the country or whatnot.
Well, talk about that a little bit. When you got onto the campus, what was your reaction to being out at UCF?
Oh my gosh! The first time I got on campus was my official visit, and that was fourth week in January, whatever that was. That was my biggest issue with seeing. I needed to see the school. I love the coaches, the relationship I have with that. And then when I stepped on campus, got out of the airport, came to campus, I was just like, I'm seeing palm trees, sunshine in the middle of winter where I'm at, and I was like, wow, this is.
You can wear shorts. You can wear shorts in January in Orlando.
Yeah, I came off the plane sweating, and I was in my snow cap and my sweatpants and my jacket, and I was like, wow, I'm getting rid of this stuff.
I have to mow my yard on Christmas normally. That's like, we mow our yard on Christmas. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow, that's awesome. I've never heard of that.
So, yeah, I have to move the inflatable snowman. I always tell people this because I put this inflatable snowman because we don't have any snow, obviously, but I want to get in the spirit. I have to move the inflatable snowman to mow the yard. I always send that. I'm from Kansas originally. I have to send that back to my friends in Kansas on Facebook or whatever. Ha ha, see what I'm doing. You were recruited by quite a few schools. I see one of them here, and it looks like you took a visit to Connecticut? UConn?
Yeah, my first official visit was there. It was right. It was a good visit. I liked coaches a little bit, and then it was one of my first schools that I've taken a visit. I had a lot of options, and I thought, wow, it could be an option. And then I went and took a visit. I liked the place, and then some stuff happened when I left. I was actually sitting in the airport leaving the visit, and there was only one other offensive lineman on my visit with me, and I was sitting in the airport, and I got a call from my recruiter that I have a really good relationship with from that area. I was sitting in the airport, I was like, wow, it was a great visit, whatever, and he calls me and he said, hey, what's his name, just committed to us, and that was our last offensive line spot. And I wasn't ready to commit on my visit. I liked it a lot, but I was like, I have to see UCF. I have to see this school before I make any decision. And then so I was pretty devastated after that. I didn't know if it was going to be my school or not. And then I went on my UCF visit. I was like, wow, that was the biggest blessing in disguise I could ever ask for. And I knew this was the right place. And then actually after I committed to UCF, UConn actually called probably a week or two after, and that kid that committed on my visit that took that last O-line scholarship spot, he actually ended up decommitting, and they're all about trying to talk me back into having interest in them. I was like, I'm a Knight. I'm in love with UCF, and nothing's going to change.
I love the sound of that. I'm a Knight. All right. I didn't know that, so that's a great story that comes out of that, unfortunately. But we kind of have a little bit of, shall we say, animosity against UConn this year after our game. So we will look forward to you putting some hurt on those guys when.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Awesome. Who was the coach from UCF that recruited you?
Well, the coach that got me was Coach Mo, Alan Mo, the offensive line. Oh, he's a new offensive line coach. It's a funny story. He used to coach at Temple University in PA. In Philly, the Philly area. And I was going into right after my sophomore year, I went to a satellite camp right into a high school in Pittsburgh that Temple was hosting. And I went to that camp. I did really well. And then later that week, I ended up getting offered from Temple by Coach Mo and their staff or whatever. And then he ended up leaving there, and he came to UCF, and he pretty much called me within the first couple of weeks he was there, and he's like, hey, I want you on board. And so we talked, and they offered, and me and him kind of had a great relationship since, and he kind of was more of like a fatherly figure once that whole UConn stuff went down. He just said, calm down, don't make any stupid decisions now, this process gets it, stuff like that's still business. And then I couldn't ask for a better relationship so far with the coach right now. Through this whole process, he was on my side 100% for me, not just for the UCF side, but he was on my side for me. That's the reason why I'm at UCF now.
And talk a little bit about your relationship with Coach O'Leary, your family's reaction to George O'Leary, a big name in the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, he's that big figure, and he's definitely a cool guy, and he definitely has that experience where if you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be, he's going to be the guy that, all right, I'm going to get someone else to do it, or I'm not going to tell you more than once. And my parents fell in love with that, and they knew what kind of style coach he is, and that's the type of coach I love. And Coach Mo would tell me all about him, and because he's not really into the recruiting that much personally, but then once near the end, he's there, and I just got to sit down with him at the end, and just shaking his hand when I committed and looked him in the eye, I was like, wow, this is the best decision I've made in my life so far, and can't wait to be along the ride with him.
As fans have gotten to know you a little bit more, and for those that don't, one of the top 80 guards in the country by 24/7 Sports, describe your style of play. What do you like out on the field? What have been your experience as playing high school football? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I played tackle in high school. Coach Mo, I mean, he has really no aspirations for me. He says I could play anywhere across the board, but he wants me to start out a tackle. But I mean, I definitely think I can play any position up front. I'm willing to. But in high school, I mean, I don't want to brag about myself or anything, but high school was a good time for me, and I definitely got after it. And I had some good coaches, and taught me what I needed to know just up front. And when I went to these camps, I had the technique kind of already in my head, and kind of already knew what the coaches were trying to explain to us at the college level. And then I used to use that on the field, just being physical. And coaches kind of tell me that I'm one of the nastiest guys I've met on the field, CSL on the field, and overall just kind of walk from whistle to whistle and go from there, and just love to be physical.
As we've been listening to this, I was remembering watching your tape, and I remembered there was something that I liked about you, and that was what it was. You are extremely physical. And I remember you kind of just like in your highlight tape, I think it's the first play or a few of them, you just kind of like lay on the guy and make sure he doesn't get back up.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. You don't see a lot of people do that, but it's smart. That's the cool part about that. It's extremely smart. You can use your size to dominate the guy, and then what's he going to do after that? He's going to look at you and be like, what did you just do to me? You know, and you've probably got his head the rest of the game after you do that.
Yeah. Sometimes I did a little bit too much and throw the flag here and there.
Have you been flagged for that before?
Yeah. Walking after the whistle and whatnot and driving guys into the ground. I mean, that happens a lot of linemen, but I mean, especially when kind of this size in high school, I mean, the refs they're not afraid to throw it at me,
So if there was one thing that you could tell Knight Nation about what you're going to do when you get to UCF, what we can look forward to you doing, what would that be?
Yeah, the biggest thing right now, I mean, get in early, start working early, help the team out as much as I can, help them go right now. The team is to win conference championships and go from there, and then win big bowl games and get as many wins as possible.
That sounds good. That's what we love to hear. We want to win and we want to be dominant.
When do you get here, and what's your major?
So we come in at June 24th. We report. Yeah, and my major will be. I'm going to go the health science route. I definitely want to try and go to physical therapy, go that route, or could take even farther in the medical route and come to the orthopedic or whatnot. But I'm definitely going to start at the kinesiology type route and leave a lot of open doors and go from there.
I don't know if you followed UCF too much last season, but we had obvious issues on the offensive line. I'm sure that you've heard about it. I'm sure that you've seen some tape or whatever. How do you feel that you're going to be able to help that situation and to add to that? And did they talk to you about playing early?
Yeah, I definitely plan on helping up front and bringing my physicality to the offensive line and being able to play as early as possible. But Coach Mo, I talked to him about playing time and whatnot, and he said don't have any aspirations to redshirt. Be ready to come in and play. He said the opportunity is there, and I'll be in camp and whatnot. And I mean, I don't want nothing to be handed to me. I know that, so I just have to work my way up, and I plan on helping the team out that way and making myself better, but by making others better. So.
Playing early, was that something that you were looking for when you were looking at schools? Because I know some people do and some people don't. So
yeah, I mean, I wasn't basing my college commitment off of playing time early or whatnot, but I mean, it's definitely a plus. I made my decision off of my relationship with the coaches, the type of football we're going to be playing, and the academics. The things on top are just a bonus, like being able to play in front of a great crowd that UCF has, playing time, the campus, location, that's all just a bonus to me. And the really thing that sold me was my relationship with my coaches. They're basically my parents for the next 4.5, 5 years, and dealing with each other for the next every day for the next 4 or 5 years.
We are really looking forward to having you here, man. I'm so glad that you committed to the UCF Knights. Knight Nation
appreciate it.
Yeah, Knight Nation is going to be lucky to have the recruits that we have this year, including you. All righty, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we will catch up with you at another time.
All right, sounds good. Go Knights. This is Rashad Cosby, UCF cornerback, and you listen to Knightline podcast.
Alrighty, well, that was great to talk to Tyler Hudanick. He was a really cool dude, and we talked to him quite a bit after we hung up there and kind of talked about stuff, and he's a smart guy, and I'm looking forward to having him here.
It fits that profile that George O'Leary likes of an intelligent player, and he's got a lot of enthusiasm about UCF.
He's a very well-spoken guy, and that's good when you can get that. He's going to have a good career.
Hudanick's family, fans all over the country will be happy to know that Public Policy Polling released a new poll earlier in the week. Of course,
that would be the PPP poll.
It would be the PPP poll of favorite college football team in the state of Florida. So no particular surprise that of respondents, 23% root for the Gators, 22% root for the Seminoles. But what's interesting is that UCF, the Knights, have surged, now tied with the University of Miami, support of 10% apiece. And then after that, the South Florida U Cows, fifth with 8%, FAU, 4%, FIU, 1%. As previously mentioned, they're not going to travel very well for that first game. Only 1% of poll respondents list FIU. But nonetheless, very good for UCF. And with 60,000 students and Miami being a private school, UCF churning out all kinds of alums, I'd say third, sole possession, coming soon.
Absolutely, yeah, that's good. That's not a bad thing at all. I'll take 10%. I wish it was more than that, and it can be. We've got a little bit more, I mean, I don't know. We've got a lot of alumni that are coming out of this school, so they need to pick it up and run with it.
And you think about where UCF was only a few short seasons ago, and certainly Blake Bortles, as we've been talking about, and some of the other guys making headlines, it really helps grow the program. Florida and Florida State have been around an awfully long time with a lot of success, so to be in there tied with Miami, the 5-time national champion Miami Hurricanes. I think that's how many they have, right? 5?
I don't know.
Yeah, so to be tied with them is pretty good. That's some bragging rights for UCF.
Absolutely.
Also helping UCF, of course, in its national profile is to have 2 ranked teams, one in baseball, one in softball. I'll talk a little bit about the baseball Knights, number 6. And exciting Sunday game. They come back. They win bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, a single by James Vasquez, and UCF wins 4-3 over 15th ranked Houston. UCF now 22-7, 2-1 in the American, and head coach Terry Rooney says it was certainly Championship Sunday.
Actually, before we do that, what happened? You were there.
I was.
What happened with the Houston coach today? I heard some people got thrown out.
It was just some emotions at the end of the game. What specifically they were jawing about?
Somebody said on Twitter that he should be suspended and all kinds of stuff. So I was at work and I looked down at my phone and I get a Twitter alert that the American should look into what this guy did.
I'd be surprised if the American looked into that too much. It just seemed like some emotions there.
Was it a bench?
No, they were yelling at each other. I think most of the UCF team was, just celebrating with Vasquez, the come from behind win. And just some heated emotions. Coach Rooney went over there to...
Were we wearing the camouflage?
No, that was Saturday for the military appreciation, so no camouflage on Sunday.
Wasn't sure if it was like, they were feeling militant or...
Nah, I just think it was the emotions of it. UCF wins Friday, Houston wins Saturday, tight game on Saturday. So championship Sunday, this is important because UCF and Houston only play each other this one time, and Houston was the preseason favorite to win the AAC.
I don't think they are anymore.
No,
we'll see.
UCF still has some pitching questions.
They absolutely do.
One of the tiebreakers in the AAC is head-to-head. So this was, should they be tied, this was an important series to win, especially the opening AAC series.
All right, now we can hear from Rooney.
Couldn't be prouder of him. You know, that's what you expect today. We talked about it yesterday, that this game was going to come down to one or two pitches, and you just got to play one or two better, and we did that. And listen, the guys hung in there. They hung in there, did a terrific job, executed there late. To me, Zach Rogers, the story of the game. I mean, Zach Rogers was just tremendous. Guy comes in there and just does his job. He has been so just unselfish this entire season. You know, he was out of the rotation, in the rotation, doing a lot of roles for us. And the bottom line is, you know, he threw an inning last night, so I didn't start him, but basically threw 100 pitches, so it was kind of like a start. But, you know, Zach Rogers was terrific today, provided us the opportunity to win it late, and then the guys just collectively as a team to hang in there and do what we did late. It's not surprising. It's not surprising because they're doing it all year, but I couldn't be prouder of these guys. I tell you what, I love coaching them, the work ethic, the confidence, and they deserve to win that series.
Kudos to senior right-hand pitcher Zach Rogers. He tossed 8 innings in relief, Andrew. Struck out 5 to earn the victory, 4-0 on the season. Probably, no doubt, his best outing of the season.
Well, that's cool that he was able to kind of come in weird timing there.
Well, he pitched Saturday, too,
yeah.
And he threw over 100 pitches on Sunday, so big game for him.
Some other stuff happened on Sunday. The UCF softball team cruised to a 6-1 win over UConn at the UCF softball complex. UCF 34-5, 6-0 in AAC play, posted its second American Athletic Conference Series sweep of the season. And Saturday, junior Shelby Turner, which we were just talking about last week, added another no-hitter, which is absolutely crazy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, last week you're asking how often, how common is a no-hitter, and we don't follow softball enough to know that, but incredible accomplishment to throw one. Throws 2 back-to-back.
Yeah, and so she's got more than that. She's got a couple already this season besides those. So, yeah, so last week she was named the American Athletic Conference Pitcher of the Week after tossing her second career no-hitter and allowing just 1 hit all weekend. And then after this week's no-hitter, I'm assuming she might get the same honor.
It would be hard to go against her. UCF with a team ERA that's hovering around 1 or less. And watch the Knights move up a little bit in the rankings this week after the sweep of UConn. In other UCF sports news and notes, in rowing, UCF's Varsity 8 named the first AAC Conference Boat of the Week. Who knew that was an honor? The Knights collected 9 head-to-head wins in the first 3 regattas.
For the second straight week, UCF hosted a meet at the UCF Track and Field Complex. For the second straight weekend, the Knights won. UCF defeated 10 other scoring teams to take home the UCF Invitational title with 172 points. On Senior Day in Orlando, USF placed second with 124 points. Meantime, senior Kristen Nuduim was named the American Athletic Conference Track Athlete of the Week.
Easy for you to say. Women's tennis looking to bounce back after a 4-3 road loss to South Florida. Knights returned home Friday to face Drexel. UCF 8-6 overall, 3-5 in the American. Claimed the first set in 3 matches, but the teams weren't able to finish play due to inclement weather.
UCF men's tennis team fell to number 27 Tulsa, falling 4-3 in American Athletic Conference action at the UCF Tennis Complex on Friday.
Congrats to former UCF men's soccer player Romario Williams. Made his MLS debut in Montreal in the Impact's 2-2 draw with Orlando City.
The UCF men's golf team led the FAU Solomon Autism Invitational from wire to wire, taking their first team title of the season.
21st ranked UCF women's golf team fought its way back to a tie for 9th Sunday in the final round of the LSU Tiger Golf Classic. UCF has been a top 25 ranked team all season. Golfstat.com had the Knights as high as 19 earlier in the spring.
A couple of other AAC notes. Temple's men's basketball team is in the NIT Final Four. The Owls will play the Miami Hurricanes Tuesday. UConn women are still alive in the women's NCAA tournament.
Couple AC programs still alive. Meantime, we talked earlier while we were recording that Predator game, defensive slugfest, few moments left. Philadelphia up 62-56. Last week, of course, we had Sia Burley, former UCF wide receiver, currently offensive coordinator for the Predators. Can Burley's offense lead the Predators to a win in the return at the Amway?
I don't know, but it looks like they need to get it going.
That's what you like in arena football, though. You don't need any, defensive, low-scoring
Yeah, we
games.
encourage you guys to get out there and go see the Predators. We're going to try to get there a couple times this season, and it's a fun game. It's a party, and a game breaks out, they say. So this has been episode number 36. I'm sorry if I'm a little tired tonight, but like I said, I worked the whole weekend, and I still have to work because y'all aren't paying the bills yet.
This music will pump you up, though. I am Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Thank you for listening. I'm Andrew Phegley.
UCF charge onto the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line.